Welcome to this edition of Weather to Watch. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Here's what I'm watching. Well, the big heat dome that broke so many records has worn off, at least temporarily, but it will come back with a vengeance in the central U.S. We'll talk a lot about that. Also, we'll look 2 weeks down the road to early April and see a pattern shift which will replace high pressure with low pressure and will lead, I think, to wetter weather and more severe weather in the central U.S. And finally, the official prediction for April has been issued by the Climate Prediction Center. We'll take a look at that and much more coming up. Starting out on this Monday afternoon with the visible satellite loop for the lower 48, showing a lot of fair weather, really. All these high clouds drifting through the plains, a result of actually a zonal flow, as you'll see in a minute, and some warming returning pretty quickly, actually. This is the most interesting feature, really, and it isn't really producing a lot of sensible weather. A lot of cloud cover in the northeast. Let's kind of reveal why here. So this is the 500 millibar flow, and sure enough, we have a trough of low pressure at 500 millibars moving through here, and a couple of little short waves. Those are the little X's. Probably the most predominant one is this. Despite all that, though, there's not a lot of active weather going on here in terms of precipitation or even a lot of wind. There is wind coming on the front side of this high. I'll show you that here. That is centered over Lake Michigan, basically. So we have, as you can see by the arrows here, cold northerly and northwesterly winds over New England and Pennsylvania and New York. The cold front itself finally, by this afternoon, did slice down into central Texas and have finally gone through the Carolinas, but this will be valid at 6 p.m. tonight. I'll show you the temperatures here in a minute. I'll tell you why I said that. But already we have warming flow returning across not just the central plains and southern plains, but also way up into Canada, too. So as big as this high was to bring the temperature change downward, it's going to be pretty effective to bring the temperature change upward as well. Here are temperatures. At 4 p.m., it was only 36 in Boston and 32 in around the Buffalo area. Montpelier, Vermont, 30 degrees. Meanwhile, it was 80 in Raleigh and 81 in Charlotte. And again, the front literally slicing through as that reading was taken at 4 o'clock. And in terms of precipitation, not a lot. These are snow symbols here. And the way this has always been read in meteorology is that 2 of any of the symbols is light. So it looks like a snowflake, and it is. So light snow in upstate New York, but this is really kind of a smattering. Nothing real significant going on there. Let's look at the pattern change, how it is forecast to be over the next 7 days, and then see how that will impact the weather over the lower 48. I look at this map a lot. This is issued twice a week, and it's called the weekly. EPS is the European model, basically, and it's an ensemble model, but it's more than just that. It's averaged over an entire 7-day period, and that period begins today. And I'm actually using a pretty old one because this is released on Thursday and then tonight, actually, after I record this. But I think it still holds true. It does show that the mean ridge position that brought all the hot temperatures over the last week is returning to the Four Corners area, and one cool place would be New England, and that's even going to lead to a little bit of snow, and I'll show you that here coming up in a few slides. The temperature side of things, as you might expect, underneath the high pressure ridge, again, the highest anomalies average over that period will be in Utah, Nevada, the high plains, the high desert, if you will, of Colorado, parts of Arizona. And then the cool area is going to be up in New England mostly. And again, that'll support a little bit of that snow. Let's take a look at the specifics of the temperature trends and the up and down seesaw motion that we will continue to see. Well, already that front is making a big difference. Now, tomorrow's high temperatures, that's what this map is, shows it will be cool in the east. The colors indicate departures from normal, so if it looks cool, it is on the colors. And if it looks warm, it is. So everything basically west of the Mississippi is going to be above normal, with very much above normal temperatures out over Utah and Colorado. Denver will be 82 degrees tomorrow. 68 here in Springfield. We were in the 90s basically for the last couple of days. Cooled off, but that's coming back. Look at Thursday. We'll shoot back up to 90, as will a lot of central and southern Missouri. Right down the pipe into Oklahoma and Texas. Midland will be at 100 on Thursday. A little bit cool still in New England. That'll help to support some snow there. And also cool but dry across parts of Montana and North Dakota. And then if we go ahead to Saturday, another front will have moved through. That'll lead to, again, winter-like temperatures in the northeast, but a return to warmth out west. And that's going to be a continuing theme because if we go to the period Sunday through Thursday, the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, it does feature a high confidence of a bullseye of warm temperatures over the central Rockies and pretty high confidence that northern Maine will be a little bit chilly. There is another front that will slice through here. I'll tell you what effects it will have on rain and on snow. So first of all, for the next 5 days, this is the Weather Prediction Center's total precipitation. Now, it doesn't bother to differentiate between rain and snow. If it's icy, if it's frozen at all, they melt it down and then they give you this answer. So this, I can tell you, is mostly snow here, and this area is rain, and we can target both of these. So let's take a look at this. This is a rain hazard map produced by the government here, saying that the rains might get a little out of hand from parts of Indiana right through the heart of Ohio, ending up being around Pittsburgh and eastern Pennsylvania, or western Pennsylvania rather. And generally speaking, if we go beyond starting Sunday, this coming Sunday, and going through Thursday of next week, much of the country looks like it might get some precipitation, looking pretty good. At least the confidence is not bad. If it's the lightest green, yeah, it's kind of 50-50. But if it starts getting a little bit darker like this, that means the confidence going up that this might be a wetter pattern of weather through here. Let's take a look at the severe weather potential that goes along with this. The Storm Prediction Center that looks out 8 days into the future does have a day 4 outlook, and it includes a 15% chance of any severe weather from northeast Missouri through the heart of Illinois and Indiana and ending up in much of Ohio, maybe even a southern part of Michigan too. Now this is a front that's moving through. Typically a cold front is more linear thunderstorms. So when we say severe weather, it could be anything. It could be tornadoes, hail, or damaging winds. So at this point, tornadoes are so dependent on small-scale things that can happen, the day of, morning of. So again, be alert in this area on Thursday. And also, there are other possibilities, I think, in the long term. And when we talk about the two-week period here coming up, I'll highlight that a little bit more. But before I do that, a quick look at the snow forecast. This is a collaboration of all the Weather Service forecast offices, what they think will happen through Thursday morning. So this snow here is mostly going to be later on Wednesday, and it includes maybe some 6-inch totals in the mountains of New Hampshire. Generally speaking, though, this isn't too bad at lower levels at all. There's still some snow in the UP of Michigan. It seems like that never stops. But anyway, winter's harder and harder to find. Not surprising now getting into the last week of March. And speaking of the last week of March, let's fast forward one more week. This map basically starts a week from today. Same general idea. We're taking the average over a 7-day period, but you'll note that the ridge that was being featured this week here has now gone east. And now out west, it's a trough of low pressure. Not a very significant signal, but one nevertheless. And generally when this happens, a couple things happen. First of all, the temperature pattern changes, so the warmer temperatures follow the ridge, although it's still going to stay pretty warm out west. Again, that's indicative of the fact that it's not a very sharp trough on average as being forecast. And then New England, just a slice of that still cool even into early April. The precipitation anomaly is actually pretty interesting. That shouldn't say temperature, it should say precipitation. But from Texas up through the mid-Mississippi River Valley, ending up in the Great Lakes, pretty good confidence of above normal rainfall through that period, so that's good. And in fact, they have looked at that, the government, and they look at the 2-week forecast, and they say from the 31st through the 6th, that there is a slight risk of some rain hazards broadly in this area here. And then the last couple things we'll look at, first of all, the supercell composite is active for that 2-week period. This is the first week of that, March 30th through the 5th. We're looking at some supercell positives here all the way up into Iowa, starting in Texas and going into the Midwest. And then the week after that, I just had to show you that these become less and less accurate, but this is from the 6th through the 12th of April, and a pretty good maximum. And I've seen these before not materialize or completely flip-flop, but for educational purposes, I do think general troughing out west is going to be more commonplace beginning the last few days of March and going through the first couple of weeks, I think, of April. And speaking of April, finally, as I said at the beginning, here's the April temperature forecast. High confidence of above normal temperatures in Utah. Much of the south, not much going on, maybe just a normal April from the northern Great Lakes into New England. Precipitation shows that same maximum in the central U.S. Many of these areas could use some rain, and we'll get some areas that could use some and probably won't in April, at least not to a large extent, will be centered around Nevada. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.